Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have a little bit of an interesting topic to go and talk about, which is the popularization and announcement of a brand new PC building company called Starforge PCs. And the very intriguing part about this is we're going to do a bit of a deep dive about it, is that this is actually ran by quite a few very popular Twitch streamers as well as YouTubers. Some pretty big notable folks include people like moreFind or Charlie himself. You also have other people such as Jay Schlapp, Ms. Kiff, Asmongold, and quite a few other little various folks that are all in that same sort of network. Now, I myself am going to go, first of all, straight up say this, I enjoy their content, I enjoy their Twitch streams, I enjoy everything that they actually go and do. Definitely people I've watched for a very, very long time, and I do enjoy their idea and concepts of pushing into different types of business ventures. Although, sometimes when they go and people make these systems and work on these, they kind of sometimes launch them very, very, very haphazardly, and there's a lot of big critiques already coming out, both from the community as well as also someone like me who has been around the PC gaming scene for quite some time. And there's a lot of really big critiques when it comes to this type of stuff, so I'm going to get into that, get into community feedback, and kind of get into why this seems like they're kind of scamming folks out there. Now, I'm going to use scam very, very lightly, more so use that to more so ripping people off and just overcharging, which, in fairness, when it comes to a company, when it comes to a business, you do want to make money, and I do like the idea of offering this type of product. In case you guys are curious, it's all based on PCs, because obviously some people do like to go and buy pre-built PCs, and as well for like their own company, instead of having to work with a company such as say Artesian Builds, and you can just make it yourself and have all the proper feedback and quality control yourselves. There's a lot of really good thumbs up that I do appreciate on this concept. But typically, now it seems like all these products are somewhat subpar and also very, very overpriced for what they're usually offering. So let's go and talk about this a little bit more in depth, because I'm not the biggest fan of content creators who are taking advantage or ripping off their own community, but this actually seems like something in the future that could be absolutely phenomenal as long as the price points are also good and as well as they also maintain a very good quality control. So for this, as I mentioned, this is actually built with a lot of really big popular YouTube content creators and Twitch content creators. OTK itself, namely on Twitch side, and of course, obviously moreFind and Charlie, very, very big when it comes to the YouTube side. And this is called Starforge PCs as well. This is announced officially as of today, where they have, as of right now, 4 major big PC pre-built options. They have the Starforge, they have the Starforge Horizon Pro, Elite, and then also the Creator PC. But the one big issue with all this is that all these products are, number one, overpriced, and also comparatively wise even for other big brand competitors such as NZXT, which has been the big one a lot of the community have been focusing on, is also as well extremely overpriced. So it's kind of a little bit of a struggle as well, because also a lot of PC gaming parts such as the 3000 series cards are also a lot easier to go and get. And on top of this too, they're also trying to go and push a lot of the Razer as well, which I'm sure you guys, if you guys are familiar, is also typically overpriced, but they do have a partnership with them. Makes sense why it's on the website, not going to judge them for it. It's probably like even maybe a contract thing, or they even get better price markups too. Nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to all of these price points too, for a $3,500 PC, it's, well, very, very overpriced for what you actually go and get. For a good reference point, I myself, even on my own PC, have a 3080 Ti, and I can guarantee you guys right now, with also better internal specs, with a better CPU, more RAM, more everything else, on top of my own current PC, I did not even pay $3,500 for my entire build before, and that was also when the price points were even higher from the pandemic as well. And price points are down a lot on record, on official record, on third-party records, etc. And as well, we've also seen some of the other gaming PCs too as well, for even their most introductory model is just a very low, it's just not really that worth it. They even have their statement stating this system is intended for 1080p gaming, 60 FPS, and a smooth operational experience, which I'd hope that leaves in the bare bone. You can pretty much do that on a Chromebook. It almost seems like too as well in this day and age. And just when it comes to all the internals too, a lot of folks in the community have been making fun of this because it's trying to push an Intel i3 processor. Is also, I believe, not even like a current generation, it's a few generations behind, as well as also a NVIDIA GTX 1660 Ti. And now, if you guys don't know, it's just, this is a very, very subpar computer, especially for the price point they're trying to go push for too as well, and also just the markup they're giving on all of these have not been good on the price points too. And it's also from a lot of folks that are typically in like a PC aficionado group, where obviously you're streaming on Twitch, you need to have somewhat good hardware, you're playing games, so usually you have a lot of gamers going from there. And that's kind of a big thing, is we've actually even seen other comparable even computers with very similar and or if not better statistics. So here's a good example. They have the same GPU on this computer from Costco, and it's only $500. Now you guys can kind of do this big comparison too as well, and the GPU is probably one of the most, if not the actual most important thing when it comes to a PC. Now there's maybe not necessarily as customization involved with it too as well, but just at the end of the day, these just seem like they're very, very overpriced for what they're offering. Now that's not necessarily the world's worst thing though, because if you're a company, you want to make money, you have a brand associated with it, you have employees you have to pay, you have shipping you have to worry about, like I get it, like I totally get it. I just think these price point margins are way too high. Now, in the future, if they were to just go and maybe fine-tune these products to a better market value and kind of somewhat cut back on their own profit margins, I think this will be a phenomenal and good product. I have no issues with it. I have no issues with them trying to go cut out that middleman, because a lot of OTK was previously sponsored with Artesian builds. I am 100% okay with this. I think that's smart. It's a cool business venture, and if you make it well, it'll be good. But I do think there's also going to be a lot of community issues with it as well, because when it comes to PC builds and product services and computers, things fall apart, people have issues, etc. If you're charging a super high premium, and you're also doing that with your own current audience, it does lead to a lot more issues if you yourself own this company, and that is where they're trying to push for right now. And that kind of leads into a lot of other issues too, because we're seeing folks just everywhere being upset with this. We're seeing comments over here too where it's like the space is so inflated. Like on the Reddit comments, these established brands have ties to manufacturers, and you can get the parts well below MSRP. If you can't do that, then how are you trying to profit without gouging the consumer? And that's pretty much what's going on right now. I love their content. I think they're great entertainers, and they seem like great people. But when it comes to this, they are pretty much selling their own gaming community, and for their fan bases too as well. And on top of this too, there is already good, proven other companies, iBuyPower, CyberPower, NZXT, and other various homegrown places. Even places like Micro Center can literally build it for you too as well, in-house, in-store, and even order the parts. And it kind of just makes something harder. We also have other stuff too as well, where it's like people are saying like $1,000 for a $70 CPU will mega dance too as well, and it's waiting for Gamer Nexus to go and roast them. And then people are paying making fun of people for spending $1K for a subpar PC. And that's, I think, just the only big issue I have. I just think the price point's just way too high, and they're trying to push way too high profit margins. If it came back to more of a normal price point range and maybe had more offerings or either more customization, which I'm sure as the company evolves and they get more employees or they get more used to it, or they can kind of see what the profit margins really are at, and like how much it costs for shipping, how many chargebacks and refunds they have to go through, and all of that. As a growing paying company, I'm sure that'll happen. I'm sure it'll get better. Like when it comes to content creators, a lot of these people like to take this stuff by heart, and they know at the end of the day, let's make it better. Maybe that next drop will be better. Maybe the next few weeks will be better. Maybe they'll adjust prices from this community feedback. And I think they probably will. And I have a lot of faith in these guys, because the OTK guys seem like pretty good dudes. Same with Charlie himself. They usually do seem pretty receptive on criticism, and that's my only big thing. Now, a lot of folks have been trying to go and call out, though, as well, that they do have this with the old Artesian build, though. Because remember the Artesian PC builds, and they did actually have Nick over here, who was a previous operator for Artesian, but I do believe everyone's been saying that's more on the East Coast side, where the company was actually running phenomenally well. So it's not too rough, but that is always something people will probably note, and I'm sure there'll be a few clickbait YouTube videos coming out where the Artesian builds is back, question mark, exclamation mark, clickbait out there. But as we've even seen other folks, we could see a lot of them even comparing to other big company brands, as I've mentioned, where it has stuff like Starforge with a $900 build. You can look at, say, the NZXT with the better i5 processor, slightly newer processor with the 3052 as well, comparable RAM though, and also comparable SSD. You look at iBuyPower for a $50 discount with a slightly better i3 processor with a 3050 as well. Also, once again, comparable RAM and SSDs, and CyberPower 2 on top of this with a slightly actually not as good build comparison, but for NZXT and iBuyPower, very, very good too as well. And they could also even see slightly better versions too with this for a slightly more expensive variation. So you can kind of go and see all this too on here. And also, I've actually worked with SkyTech before. They're very cool and very nice. Just the price points you can see are just not as good for a lot of these different types of companies. So, and as well, they also have been calling them out for the lack of customization. So I just want to hope you guys know when it comes to these big types of gaming companies, they usually do have a pretty big markup, and you can usually build your own PC for very easy. Like, it's very easy to do. It's generally very easy. So please just be careful. If you guys ever want to buy pre-built, totally would never be against it. But I would maybe say my one critique is maybe wait for Starforge to be a little bit more developed as a company and maybe get slightly more fine-tuned price points, because it does seem like they're very much overcharging. And as well, what you get, you could probably get cheaper from a different company, or as well, obviously, make it cheaper by building it on your own. Now, I have nothing against all the OTK guys or Charlie himself, but once again, it will probably be a little bit of a growing pain system, and I'll be more curious to see how this company comes out 6 months from now rather than anything else. So just giving you guys a quick heads up and warning and my thoughts on it, because it was announced today. Always be careful with how you guys are spending your money and using your money too as well. And of course, good luck in the company. I hope it turns out good. They all seem like good dudes. So at the end of the day, as long as they can make money in the future, just slightly nicer way and slightly less markups, I'm all for it. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below. Got the Target links and Amazon links and stuff for all the other various PS5 things and other things as well down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.